Not every battle is fought with fists or fury. Some take place in silence, at cruising altitude, behind calm eyes and expensive suits. This is the true story of a man who said nothing, because his power spoke louder. Aboard a flight between Chicago and Los Angeles, what began as a simple seating dispute spiraled into a national controversy. It's not just about race, reputation, or revenge. It's about quiet justice delivered at 30,000 feet. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like the video and leave a comment telling us what city you're listening from. To everyone who clicks subscribe, may God bless you with healing, abundant health, and overwhelming wealth. Share this channel with someone who enjoys meaningful stories. And remember, don't watch, just listen. Let the images fade, and let your imagination do the rest. Nathaniel Brooks adjusted his tie and tapped the screen of his tablet. Numbers danced across the display, quarterly figures stacked neatly in columns. The Wall Street Journal lay folded beside a half-empty cup of coffee. From Seat 2A in Skylux Air's first-class cabin, the world below Chicago looked distant and irrelevant. He wore a charcoal suit that whispered of quiet wealth. His posture was composed, relaxed but intentional. At 42, Nathaniel had mastered the art of being seen without being noticed until now. The figure approached, blonde hair tucked in regulation bun, a navy skirt, a clipboard, and a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Emily Carter, flight attendant. She leaned in slightly, her voice sweet and firm. "Sir, I need you to gather your things. This seat is reserved for one of our platinum members." Nathaniel looked up without expression. He glanced at his boarding pass. First class, Seat 2A, purchased 3 weeks ago through his assistant. His platinum elite number printed in gold beneath his name. "I booked this seat in advance," he replied calmly. Emily's smile faltered. "I understand, but Mr. Whitman's assistant called ahead. He needs this specific seat due to a medical issue." Voices murmured nearby. In 3B, a woman adjusted her phone and muttered, "Wait, what?" Nathaniel didn't argue. He placed the boarding pass gently on the tray table so she could see. "My name is Nathaniel Brooks. This is my seat." The tension didn't rise. It just settled, thick, invisible, humming in the cabin air. Passengers began to look up. "I'm sorry, but you'll need to move. Mr. Whitman has flown with us for years. He has priority," Emily said again. Still seated, Nathaniel tilted his head slightly. He didn't shout. He didn't demand. He simply asked, "Who authorized this reassignment?" Emily hesitated. The clipboard trembled faintly in her hands. She didn't answer. From behind her, Ronald Blake, the head flight attendant, stepped forward. Tall, salt and pepper hair, blazer pressed to perfection. His eyes swept over Nathaniel, then to the seat number. "We've been instructed to make the accommodation, sir," Ronald said. Nathaniel blinked slowly. The moment stretched. Then, quietly, he reached for his briefcase. Nathaniel Brooks didn't resist. He folded his tablet, slipped it into his leather briefcase, and took a sip from his cooling coffee before setting it down. Every movement was measured, controlled. His silence unnerved more than shouting ever could. From Seat 3B, Jasmine Liu adjusted her phone. Her voice dropped to a whisper as she addressed her viewers. "Something's going down in first class. Watch this." Her live stream count jumped past 300. Comments flickered up the screen. "Why is he being asked to move? This feels off. Looks like racism." Ronald stood at the aisle watching. "We'll relocate you to Seat 14B in economy. We can offer complimentary drinks for the inconvenience." Nathaniel looked up at him with steady eyes. "Before I move, I'd like your full names and employee identification numbers." That request silenced even the whispers. Emily's face stiffened. "Sir, there's no need to escalate this." "I'm not escalating anything," Nathaniel replied smoothly. "I'm documenting it." He reached into his inner jacket pocket and retrieved a pen, sleek, black, engraved. A name sat discreetly at the base, Brooks Enterprises. He jotted the names and badge numbers onto the back of his boarding pass. The passengers were now fully alert. Phones lifted quietly. Jasmine's stream crossed 1,000 viewers. She whispered again. I think this man just asked for employee IDs. What is happening right now? Ronald sighed. I'm Ronald Blake. ID number 40517. This is Emily Carter. ID number 71862. Nathaniel nodded once, slipping the pass into his briefcase. Then he stood, slowly and deliberately. The cabin seemed to tilt with the weight of the moment. As he turned to walk down the aisle, a woman in 2C leaned back, watching. Her eyes followed him like something valuable was being carried away. Charles Whitman entered the cabin moments later. Mid-50s, tanned, silver hair, blazer with a monogrammed cuff. His assistant trailed behind, tapping rapidly on a tablet. Ah, thank you, Whitman said loudly. Let's keep this brief. I've got a conference waiting. He slid into seat 2A with the confidence of someone who had never been told no. He didn't acknowledge the man he'd displaced. Down in economy, Nathaniel sat between a college student bobbing his head to music and a middle-aged man tapping at emails. He opened his briefcase again, unlocked his laptop, and logged into a portal few knew even existed. Skylux Air. Internal systems. High clearance access. Welcome, administrator. The economy cabin buzzed with low conversation and the rustle of snack wrappers. But for Nathaniel Brooks, the world had narrowed to his laptop screen. His fingers moved with quiet purpose, navigating menus not meant for public eyes. He accessed Skylux Air's internal policy library. Section 12.4. Anti-Discrimination Code of Conduct. He highlighted the paragraph that outlined zero tolerance for race-based passenger mistreatment. He took a screenshot and saved it into a folder labeled Flight 227 Incident. Beside him, the college student leaned over slightly. Whoa, are you hacking the airline? Nathaniel smiled faintly without answering. His screen now showed crew evaluation reports. He scrolled past standard disciplinary procedures, documenting each relevant line. Every click was a step toward something deliberate. Meanwhile, up in first class, Jasmine Liu's livestream had passed 5,000 viewers. Her phone captured Charles Whitman sipping champagne in seat 2A as Emily brought him a warm towel. Her voice barely concealed excitement. He just took that man's seat like he owned the place. This is really happening, guys. Comments flooded her screen. Tag news outlets. This is messed up. Who was that man? Emily glanced toward Jasmine and noticed the phone, but said nothing. The flight was entering early descent. She thought it would all end soon. But for Nathaniel, this was only the beginning. His phone buzzed. A message from Sarah Williams, his executive assistant. Board watching social media trends. PR team alerted. Legal counsel on standby. What's your status? He typed back. Midair personnel issue. Preparing formal action. Hold press statement for landing. Another passenger behind him whispered, That's the guy from first class, right? The murmur passed down the rows like static. He opened another document. Quarterly performance reviews. Ronald Blake's name appeared. Then Emily Carter's. Nathaniel skimmed through prior complaints. Several minor flags. One unresolved guest incident. Noted. The plane tilted slightly as the captain announced descent. Nathaniel closed his laptop carefully, as if sealing a file folder. He slid it into his briefcase and sat back. He had said no harsh words, made no threats, and yet, the shape of consequences had already begun to form in the sky above Los Angeles. In seat 14B, Nathaniel Brooks adjusted his cuffs and reopened his laptop as the seatbelt light flickered on. The engine's hum masked the sound of digital war quietly being waged in his hands. Notifications surged across his screen. Mentions, tags, videos. Jasmine Liu's livestream had reached over 8,000 viewers, now mirrored across social media platforms. The hashtag #SkyluxDiscrimination climbed trending lists. National journalists had begun bookmarking clips. Commentators from advocacy groups weighed in. Jasmine's voice, slightly shaky from adrenaline, carried through the economy cabin as she updated her audience. He's sitting back here, right behind me. The man they kicked out of first class. I don't know who he is, but he's handling it so gracefully. Her stream showed Whitman reclining in seat 2A, sipping champagne like a monarch on a throne. The contrast enraged her viewers. He looked smug. That seat wasn't his. Imagine if the roles were reversed. Up front, Emily remained oblivious. She moved down the aisle, collecting empty glasses, casually smiling. Ronald stood at the galley, reorganizing meal trays. Neither noticed how often passengers glanced at their phones now. No one was reading books. Everyone was watching. Nathaniel's phone vibrated again. Sarah Williams. Legal team has drafted notice. Confirm names of crew involved. Social media analytics updating every 15 minutes. He replied with a photo of the boarding pass where he'd written the crew names and IDs. Names confirmed. Documentation ongoing. PR statement to follow touchdown. The college student beside him peeked again. Man, are you like the airline's lawyer or something? Nathaniel gave a soft chuckle and returned to the internal HR portal. He downloaded the full anti-bias training logs for all in-flight crew. The system required administrator credentials only 2 people in the company possessed. One of them was him. Meanwhile, corporate headquarters in New York had gone into alert mode. PR managers pinged senior executives. Someone had flagged the stream as a potential brand-damaging event. But no one yet realized just how high this would go. Back in the cabin, murmurs grew louder. A man in row 16 whispered to his seatmate, "I think that's the CEO of something big." In 3B, Jasmine received a notification from a national reporter. "Is this video yours? Can we use it with credit?" She blinked. "Oh my God, this is bigger than I thought." The captain's voice crackled overhead. "Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun our descent into Los Angeles. Flight attendants, please prepare the cabin for arrival." Nathaniel closed his laptop once more. The story unfolding in the air would not land quietly. Emily Carter made her way back to the first-class galley, unaware of the digital storm brewing just beyond the cabin walls. She smoothed her skirt and adjusted her name badge, then leaned toward Ronald Blake with a light sigh. "All under control." "He moved without making a scene," she said almost proudly. Ronald glanced down the aisle without much interest. "Good. Let's wrap things up. We land soon." He reached for the service logbook, scribbling a few notes about meal distribution and VIP comfort. Neither of them noticed the uneasy looks cast their way by passengers in first class. Nor did they see the flickering screens and subtle head shakes. Most of them were too proud of how they'd handled the situation to sense the shift in the air. Charles Whitman, now comfortably stretched across seat 2A, was on a call with his Los Angeles office. "Tell Henderson Group we're confirming the merger tomorrow. I expect their Pacific assets signed by noon," he barked. Then to Emily, "Champagne, please, and some almonds." Emily rushed to comply. "Of course, Mr. Whitman. Thank you again for flying with Skylux." She handed him a warm towel, her voice laced with the polished tone of customer service perfection. Charles nodded with practiced entitlement. "I always fly with you. 15 years. Loyalty matters." Ronald smirked nearby. "And we always take care of our loyal clients." In the back, however, things weren't so polished. Passengers whispered. One woman showed her phone screen to her husband. An image of Nathaniel being escorted from his seat had already made its way to 3 major platforms. The hashtag had now reached a national audience. Verified accounts were reposting. Civil rights advocates, celebrities, and travel bloggers were asking the same question. Who is the man in seat 2A? In the cockpit, Captain Hill received a crackling call from headquarters. "This is Director Lawson from Corporate Crisis Management," said the voice. "We're tracking an incident on your flight. Social media reports of a passenger being removed from first class. What's your status?" Captain Hill blinked. "Just a minor seating reassignment. Crew handled it professionally." The voice grew firm. "We'll need full details immediately upon landing." This story is gaining national traction. Back in economy, Nathaniel received a new text. Skylux customer satisfaction rating dropped to 3.2 stars. Discrimination complaints up 47% this quarter. Legal is compiling your report. He scrolled through another feed. One of Jasmine's clips had just been reposted by an airline watchdog group. View count, 42,000. Comments flooding in by the second. Emily and Ronald were still smiling, still serving, still unaware. The city lights of Los Angeles glimmered below as the aircraft tilted gently in descent. The cabin lights dimmed to prepare for landing, but tension among passengers did not. Eyes darted from phone screens to the front of the plane. Conversations were quieter now, quieter, but more intense. Jasmine Liu's livestream surged past 15,000 viewers. Her voice remained hushed, but her expression had changed. This isn't just a seating dispute. People are digging up info. That man. He might be someone important. Nathaniel Brooks sat calmly in seat 14B. His tablet now switched to real-time social media dashboards. Charts displayed engagement spikes, trending hashtags, and sentiment analysis. Mentions of Skylux Air had risen by over 800% in the past 45 minutes. Most of it was outrage. Another message came in from his assistant. TV News wants your statement. Do we issue a release or wait until you land? He typed back. Wait, we will speak in person. Coordinate with PR and legal. Secure footage archives from flight crew. Passengers in nearby rows whispered quietly. A woman across the aisle nudged her partner. That's him. The guy who got kicked out of first class. People say he owns the airline. In first class, Emily rechecked her cart one last time, still moving with trained precision. She cast a look toward Ronald, who stood at the bulkhead, arms folded confidently. I think that situation might have gotten out of hand, Emily said. Her voice was low. Ronald waved her concern away. These things blow over. We followed policy. If they complain, customer service will handle it. But even as he spoke, 3 more passengers pointed their phones at the front. One man in 1C subtly recorded Ronald while pretending to scroll through messages. Inside the cockpit, Captain Hill reviewed his final approach checklist. The radio crackled again. Flight 227, Skylux Tower. You are cleared for final approach. Runway 24 left. Acknowledged, Captain Hill responded, though his mind lingered on the earlier call. Crisis management had never contacted him during flight before. Nathaniel folded his tablet and secured his briefcase beneath the seat. Beside him, the college student spoke up again, his voice more serious now. Hey man, no lie. What happened up there was wrong. You handled it like a boss. Nathaniel gave a slight nod, nothing more. His attention remained forward. In the final minute before touchdown, the aircraft felt quiet, not from safety protocol but from the weight of what had happened, and what was still unfolding. The wheels kissed the tarmac with a gentle bump. A few polite claps followed, but the usual cheer of landing was muted. The cabin felt heavy with silence and eyes that no longer dared to ignore. The captain's voice echoed through the speakers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Los Angeles. Local time is 3:47 in the afternoon. Please remain seated until the seatbelt sign has been turned off. As the plane rolled toward the gate, phones were already raised. Some passengers filmed quietly, others typed rapidly, but all of them glanced toward row 14, toward Nathaniel Brooks. In first class, Charles Whitman stood and adjusted his blazer. His assistant whispered updates from her tablet. Henderson Group confirmed tomorrow's briefing. You're clear for the merger at 9. He nodded, oblivious, already thinking about deals and deadlines. Emily Carter smiled as she moved down the aisle to prepare the cabin for deplaning. Her glance drifted briefly toward economy, then back. Ronald Blake checked his notes near the galley, still confident that this flight would end like any other. But Nathaniel did not stand immediately. He waited, composed, observing. When the seatbelt sign finally chimed off, passengers surged forward, but many moved slower than usual. Some lingered near the aisles. Some held their phones outward, discreetly recording. A few nodded respectfully as they passed Nathaniel. He stood with quiet dignity, adjusting his tie and reaching for his briefcase. As he stepped into the aisle, A teenage girl whispered to her mother, "That's him. That's the guy they kicked out." In the jetway, a crowd had gathered, not to block him, but to witness. Jasmine Liu stood near the gate with her phone still streaming. Her eyes met his. "Sir," she said softly, "I'm the one who filmed what happened. I'm really sorry that happened to you. Would you like to share your side of the story?" Nathaniel paused. He looked into the camera, then at Jasmine. "Thank you," he said calmly, "for documenting the truth." She blinked, surprised by his grace. "What's your name?" "Nathaniel Brooks." Her mouth opened slightly in recognition. "The Nathaniel Brooks? Brooks Enterprises." He gave a small, respectful nod and moved on. Behind him, Ronald and Emily remained on the aircraft, checking inventory sheets, preparing for the next flight. They still had no idea they had just mistreated the man who signed their paychecks. Skylux Air's Terminal 4 bustled with travelers, rolling luggage and echoing announcements. But near Gate 47, time seemed to slow. Nathaniel Brooks moved with measured steps, his leather briefcase in hand. He was no longer just a displaced passenger. He was a man with purpose and power. Behind him, murmurs followed. Passengers who had witnessed the incident spoke in hushed tones. Several still recorded, unsure of what would happen next, but sensing it would be significant. Jasmine Liu trailed behind, still streaming live to over 15,000 viewers. He just walked out of that plane like nothing happened. But trust me, everything is happening now. In a private conference room upstairs, Skylux executives scrambled. Legal teams reviewed crew records. The public relations director drafted emergency statements. Screens showed hashtags flooding every platform. Hashtag Skylux discrimination, hashtag Nathaniel Brooks, hashtag first-class racism. Inside the HR division of Brooks Enterprises, Skylux's parent company, alerts flashed. Employee violations were flagged. A meeting was set for the next morning. Disciplinary review, Flight 227 crew. In the crew lounge, Emily Carter refreshed her email. A new message blinked into view. Urgent. Please report to HR at 9 a.m. regarding Flight 227. Her fingers trembled. Ronald Blake's phone buzzed with a similar summons. He read the subject line twice, then again. His brow furrowed, a slow realization dawning. They still hadn't connected the dots. Back in the terminal, Nathaniel paused near the exit. He pulled out his business card holder and selected several cards, partnership liaisons, legal representatives, publicists. Each one had a role to play in what came next. His phone buzzed. Sarah Williams. Confirmed. Both crew members scheduled for emergency review. Network outlets requesting interviews. Do you want to go public? He typed back. Not yet. Let the system handle them first. Security personnel discreetly escorted Nathaniel through a side exit, bypassing media forming outside baggage claim. But before leaving the gate area, he turned toward Jasmine. You helped shift the narrative, he said. Keep telling the truth. She nodded, stunned. I will. As he disappeared down the corridor, the world beyond Gate 47 had already begun to change. Stock analysts flagged Skylux for volatility. Corporate partners reviewed contracts. Internally, executives debated suspensions, terminations, and public apologies. Justice did not land with shouting or fury. It arrived like a descending plane, quiet, controlled, and impossible to ignore.